Hi, welcome to yet another episode of It's Your Show. And this is the series Unfold. I'm your host, Shristi. This is a space where we share some meaningful conversations, honest reflections, and stories that stay with us. In our last episode of Unfold, we had realtor Tanya Puri in our studio who showed us what it means to represent a client with honesty and integrity. We thought that it's only fitting to continue that conversation this time from the other side of the real estate table. So we have in our studio Rakhee Dhingra, who is the CEO and broker of record at Mortgage Savvy. She looks at the mortgage industry not just as a transaction, but leads with people first values. So welcome to the episode, Rakhee. Thank you so much for coming with us and joining us. And we are looking at this episode today to show some insight into the mortgage industry. Like I mentioned earlier, we had our realtor Tanya Puri who showed us into what it is to be in a real estate industry. And I feel the real estate conversations are very incomplete unless we touch the other side of the story, which is mortgage, because I believe at the end of the day, those dreams are made complete by somebody and professional like yourself. So Rakhee, tell to our viewers, what is Mortgage Savvy all about, or why did you feel the need to create Mortgage Savvy in the first place?
I believe it's moving away from the transactional nature of the industry and really focusing on a transformational approach. How we live our life is usually how we live our mortgage. It's a sizable debt, and taking that proactive approach allows us to plan for our future, being aware of the numbers, understanding that sense of responsibility, and the timeline it takes off to address the debt, and how that all fits with our other life goals.
Absolutely. So you said a very beautiful thing, like how we deal with our mortgage is how we
Live our life.
live our life, right?
Absolutely.
So not everyone, as much as this mortgage is part of everybody's life, be it in form of renting it or be in terms of buying, right? But not all of us have that awareness. So where do you see yourself fitting in that journey of of a buyer or a seller?
So we like to come in early. I think the analogy I use, it's like knowing what you have available on your credit card before you start the shopping. Right? You want to have clarity. We want you to be able to go out there and actually be able to fall in love with something or select something that aligns with your goals, but something that you can truly afford.
Okay.
So I think it starts with an awareness of the numbers, understanding what other cost considerations go into owning a home. If you're renting, you'll be taking on additional responsibilities outside of just qualifying for the mortgage and carrying that alone. There are property taxes.
Absolutely.
There are closing costs.
So true, so true. And a lot of times we don't tend to look into all of that. We just look at the home value as our final number. But like you said, there are so many additional costs that, builds up. Our earlier guest said us in one of her suggestion, or say one of the things that a first-time buyer can take care of is, she said, having a pre-approval would really make a lot of difference. So that was her point of view. You, from the point of view of the mortgage, how important do you feel that is?
I think that it becomes critical for two reasons. One, you want to ensure that at the time you're able to select a property, that you have the ability to bring it to close, right? That you're being mindful of also looking at properties that are within your ability to secure.
Absolutely.
But part two of the equation is really the qualification and affordability conversation. We've all witnessed a very volatile economic market.
Absolutely.
And it's so important to take some stock into understanding, what are you comfortable carrying? Yes, this is what you can qualify for, but are you comfortable with that payment? When I entered into the space of mortgages, my top priority was to provide people with an education. I was a busy professional. I was actually in finance, but I was blinded. I very quickly got married, ended up with my little girl, and daycare costs can be the equivalent of a mortgage payment.
Wow. Yeah.
And it's not something that we clearly see on a credit bureau. So the conversations that I have with clients are, what's your 5-year or 10-year plan? How do we ensure we're building in the appropriate finance structure to support your life goals, not just the purchase as a standalone?
That's very interesting when you brought that, expenses like daycare, which can be a huge chunk, as good as a mortgage, are not really considered in the credit bureau. You're only asked about your credit card dues, you're asked about your car payment, and probably that's about it, right? So I think that's a very good financial awareness that
It
can be
becomes
brought.
critical, and I find that more so we've seen a little bit of a trend where we're also faced with an aging population. So families are taking on parents' responsibility as well as maintaining children. So it's so important to have this very full encompassing conversation and planning accordingly.
So that is where, even I see your role very critical. So in the process of the whole transaction, so where do you, enter a buyer's or a seller's life?
I often say as early as possible. Connecting with a mortgage broker or somebody that is able to handhold you through the process should start as early as possible. The first action that we need to take to reaching a goal is writing it down and then building out a customized plan.
So true.
Everybody's journey is different.
Absolutely.
And that is up to them to own. But building out a secure plan gives them the framework and the next steps to see the results.
They know what they are getting into, where they are, right? So
we're like your personal trainer in finance to help you get into that first
I love that.
home or
I
that
love that,
secondary
right?
home.
So as important as we feel these days to have a personal trainer for your physical health, your financial health also needs a personal trainer. And like Rakhee put it here, professionals like Rakhee are the personal trainer for our financial health. So when you started Mortgage Savvy, I read somewhere that Mortgage Savvy works with the people first values, right?
Yes.
And mortgage industry, even the real estate industry, is a lot of time looked at in a very transactional way, right? Sometimes I have seen agents who have taken their buyers or sellers as probably just another file or just another transaction, right? How is Mortgage Savvy different?
It's about the client stories. It's never about the transaction, and it's poising ourselves as strategic advisors for their entire real estate life cycle. How often do we walk into the bank anymore? It's important to have a relationship with somebody that truly understands what is the end game, what are your goals, and ensures that they're giving you advice that align with your vision of tomorrow. Another client may have a completely different strategy.
Absolutely.
So our people first approach actually came from my own set of circumstances. My life evolved in a way that I wouldn't have predicted. My goals shifted and changed. And as a result, my why was my beautiful little girl, and I wanted to build a specific type of life where I would be more available to her. And in that journey, I created a structure for myself, and I shared that information with others.
So correct me if I'm wrong, Rakhee. Are we hearing here that your role as a mortgage agent or a broker does not stop with your client securing the mortgage?
No.
You are able to walk with them, or at least help them, or make them aware to see their entire financial goal. Are we hearing that right here? Right?
Absolutely. And the example I can give you is in 2022 when we started to see a surge in interest rates. And then over the last, I'd say, end of 2024 into 2025, we started to see rates shift downwards.
Absolutely.
That was opportunity. We were reaching out to our client base. We were advising them of the opportunity to break their current mortgages, secure rates, lower rates, but we were running the cost-benefit analysis of these decisions. We take on the day-to-day stress of monitoring the mortgage, but we're looking at helping that client reach a life by financial design, meaning an end date. They don't want to be paying these mortgages for 25 or 30 years.
Absolutely.
We want to give clients that sense of freedom. We want them to own their homes.
That's amazing. I think that is something not everybody looks into.
Yes.
A lot of times mortgage, once the mortgage is done, once you buy the home, the transaction kind of ends there and it's sealed there and leaves the end customer with a lot of uncertainty, right?
Absolutely.
So are there any age-old myths or patterns that you challenge every day or want to change someday in terms of real estate or mortgage?
When we are so fixated on, Canadians want to own their own homes, and I love that. But with that, there needs to be more of an awareness around the debt. Your home becomes your largest asset, tax-free asset, but your mortgage is your largest liability. So how do we not take an eye wide open approach with it? We've defaulted to convenience, automatic minimum payments, not looking at our finances, and it's natural that money budgets can create fear. When we have uncertainty and we're lacking that knowledge, we become afraid. And that's where the avoidance comes in. So that's why it's important to be working with somebody well after the transaction closes. If you do not have an advisor or a mortgage specialist that's working with you after,
I think that's a very important part. Like, I think that is where a lot of us, kind of get blinded or lose track. And like you said, because it is so fearful and because it is so uncertain, I think all the more important that we have a professional or a financial support or support from somebody who knows the industry. I mean, way more than we ever would. So now, I think you already touched upon it, but still, from a buyer's point of view, probably, right? Is there something that you see from your experience in the industry that is often overlooked?
I'd say the proper budgeting, building in for contingencies. Anything is possible, and it's important to base the information you're receiving on facts, not subjective opinions. So, understanding that when you're making a real estate decision, as much as it is your first home, it's also often a wealth building tool. It's a way to sort of take that first step. So when we're buying that first property, it's important to understand that that is not the forever home.
Absolutely.
And that is the first stepping stone to getting ahead. So giving consideration to the property outside of your immediate needs, future appreciation, location, condo fees, understanding the impact of marketability of this property in the future.
Yes.
As well.
Yes. Okay. I think those are very good pointers that you made. So I think your advice to the first-time buyers also would be that look at your overall budgeting and also take in consideration of contingencies, etc.
And a long-term outlook is always best served with real estate. If you want to truly realize value, you want to take that long-term outlook.
Absolutely. So from a realtor's point of view, so if you have to give some advice to the realtors from a mortgage broker point of view, what would that be in a very nutshell?
I would say that we've seen a slowdown in the market overall. However, people are still having babies. People are still looking to downsize. People are still dealing with life events. It's so important to make people feel heard and understood, and they need to feel like they're being held at times of uncertainty.
Like you're understanding their dreams, they're understanding what they want, right? So you're seeing their dreams from their eyes.
Absolutely. So you're giving them that ear. You're giving them a safe place to bring their challenges, their concerns, and providing them with that roadmap, that hand-holding to get there.
Thank you so much. So we have Rakhee Dhingra with us, who is the CEO and the broker of record at Mortgage Savvy, and we will continue the conversation with her. I'm loving it. She's been able to give those little financial nuggets from both the customer, in the sense buyer and seller's point of view, as well as for some nuggets for the realtors. We'll continue the conversation right here. Before that, let's go into a short commercial break. We'll see you right on the other side of the break.
अगर आपको दुबई या मिडिल ईस्ट नुमा जेवरात की तलाश है, तो आपको दूर जाने की बिल्कुल जरूरत नहीं। आज ही हमारे मिसिसागा रिजवे स्टोर तशरीफ लाइए, अल करम ज्वेलर्स। हमारे पास सोने के बेहतरीन कंगन, कड़े, झुमके, हार और सोने के सेट्स भी दस्तयाब हैं। शादी हो या मेहंदी या कोई भी फंक्शन, आपकी पसंद के तमाम जेवरात आपको हमारे स्टोर में मौजूद मिलेंगे। आज ही हमारे स्टोर पर तशरीफ लाइए, अल करम ज्वेलर्स, 3465 प्लैटिनम ड्राइव, यूनिट 99, मिसिसागा, या फिर कॉल करें 905-828-0009। अल करम ज्वेलर्स, फरमाइश आपकी, गारंटी हमारी।
welcome back to yet another episode of Unfold. Before the break, we were having a conversation with Rakhee Dhingra, and we will continue to do so. Rakhee is not only leading the mortgage and the financial world, but she's also leading it with a lot of integrity and people-first values. So we were talking about some advices for buyers and realtors before we went on the break. So, and a lot of times I hear, and a lot of probably our viewers also hear, financial freedom. The word is thrown around, and sometimes it's a big word for people who really don't understand. So, from your point of view, as somebody who is expert in this industry, are there a few pointers that can help our viewers to probably reach there? Few steps, few very tangible steps, probably. Yeah.
Absolutely. Financial freedom requires curating a plan. You need to have a plan. What are those steps? It's also important to take a strategy that has you invest in a few different options. We don't want all our eggs in one basket, right? Just as we've seen with real estate, I'm very honest with my clients. Markets go up and markets go down. Mm-hmm. But there are opportunities. When I entered and began Mortgage Savvy as a brokerage, it was to build my own wealth building strategy. And it's a very simple strategy that I cultivated, mm-hmm. which is one owner occupied home, which I believe we should all try and get into our forever homes as soon as possible. So then we're working on a strategy to pay it off. Mm-hmm. But we can also take the wealth we're building and take that and put that towards buying 2 additional properties over time. Okay. Now, the weight of the mortgages should always sit on the investment properties. And the reason for that is although banks will issue higher rates for investment properties, mm-hmm. that becomes a tax advantage. It can actually be used as a taxable write-off. So your investment properties carry the weight of the mortgage, and over time you utilize the built equity to pay off your home.
That's I think beautiful. I know this topic is not something that we can address in 30 minutes, but I think you're giving some really amazing advices that people can take back and then start having conversations around them, right? We are not expecting our viewers to have end solution from this episode. All we are wanting to do is stir those conversations and probably bring those awareness in our lives where we start having these conversations, where we start looking into these areas in life and start having those discussions. So, Rakhee, for somebody who's watching us, a young professional or a woman or anybody for that matter, who's wanting to enter a real estate market or wanting to look into being a mortgage professional, what's your advices to them at this point?
It's important that you're doing your research. It's important that you're coming from a place of experience, previous experience, either maybe as an end user. Maybe you're a real estate investor that's gained skills through the course of acquiring and building your own portfolio. In this market, it's important to come with experience and a sound financial background to really educate clients.
Okay. Also, again, I don't know, it's almost like, addressing the elephant in the room. I have asked this question to a lot of my guests. Being a woman of color in this high performance industry, and a lot of time looked at as a male dominant industry. I don't know how true it is yet, but it does look so when we look from outside. Were there any challenges that you faced when you entered the industry, or
So I believe that comes down to mindset, right? In any industry or in any moment in life when you're challenged, it's important to step forward with your unique ability and not focus on what others are doing. Get very clear on what value you provide.
Yes.
It's like dating. I want to ensure that the individual or the client I'm working with, that I'm the ideal fit. I will always suggest that you speak to 2 or 3 individuals and find the right fit and the right support. And that's what helps you get ahead.
I think that's beautiful. Knowing your why and staying authentic and true to yourself probably helps shut a lot of the noise around, right? So,
absolutely.
Yes,
and as life transitions and life teaches you skills through life experiences, you bring new skill sets to the table to advise clients and to continue to support.
Amazing. So after all of these, questions, let's get into a small, very, very rapid round where we hear some very 1 or 2 word answers from Rakhee, right? So, yeah, you work in a very, very challenging industry, and I'm sure every morning when you wake up, it's a new day, it's a challenging day. What is your morning routine like? Probably 3-step routine that Rakhee swears by.
So I'm definitely a manifester. I believe energy. I come from a very spiritual family. So firstly in the morning, it's very much about visualization, meditation, getting very clear with my intentions. My day then flows with love with my daughter. I believe that family is everything. So I'm very centered and grounded in that. And I will take time to just energetically get very clear, flow. Stretching, meditation, yoga is a huge part of my day to day.
That's amazing.
And then starting my day with that, pep in my step. I'm excited to connect. I'm excited to, when you're connecting with clients, from a relationship perspective, they become an extension of family and friends.
That's something exactly what my realtor guest in last episode said, that they kind of become like a family, right? So I love that point of view. A value that you live by no matter what, like one, I'm sure there are a lot of that values that you carry, but one non-negotiable for you.
Is that it's integrity and trust above all, and go right at all times. And, even when we are experiencing challenges, if you continue to move in that direction, everything always comes full
Falls
circle.
in place, right?
Absolutely.
Yes, absolutely. Okay. Probably something that nobody would guess about you, or wouldn't be able to say you when probably we meet once or twice about Rakhee.
But I'm actually a very simple person. I'm a very homely, very simple person. When we present ourselves as professionals, we carry a certain persona. But behind the persona is a mother that is raising her daughter, that is very focused on her family.
Beautiful, beautiful. A moment in your life when you knew like you are on the right path, like you're doing the right thing.
I've gone through my own transitions as a widow and as a single mother, and that journey has allowed me to empower other females as they've stepped into challenges, and been there to just say, here, reach for my hand, let me hold you through this, let me carry you through to the other side.
That's beautiful. I think a lot of time life throws a lot of challenges to us, and we decide what to do with that, right? We sit and probably, sulk in that corner, or we kind of gather ourselves and be an empowerment, be an inspiration for others. Thank you for doing what you do, Rakhee. I think you have touched so many lives in ways probably, you will also not know immediately, but I'm sure you hear that a lot from your client. So Mortgage Savvy has already rewritten so many stories, right? So is there any big unfolding that you yet feel you need to do, or you're in your vision?
I do want to continue to help people. We're busy. Time flies, and time really is the most precious commodity.
Absolutely.
So my goal is to help people cultivate, like, what is your end date? What does that look like? What do you need to keep your family protected? What steps are necessary? We always assume challenges happen to others, but when they happen to you,
it always looks like tough things always looks like something that happens to your neighbor or somebody else, right?
Yes. When they happen to you, so now having that knowledge, being able to give clients that expedited roadmap to say, this is what you need to do to protect yourself. This is what you need to live a very full life. If we shared more our wins, we could save a lot of time and have success and happiness that much faster.
Having said that, I also read somewhere that you also mentor, a lot of professionals.
I
so
do.
A little bit light on that side.
I do believe that the legacy we leave is the impact we have on people. So oftentimes we get so caught up in our goals and our success, I think it's important to share and help others build their own legacy and have their own
So
impact.
what kind of mentorship do you mostly lead? Is it financial? Is it more related to mortgage, or, life in general?
Oftentimes it's for individuals that are having those financial challenges, that are afraid to speak up. I try to provide a safe space where they can share their challenges, and I can provide that guidance. It's for individuals entering the industry. If I can save you,
okay, the professionals entering
professionals
the industry
as well. If you're
Okay.
a mortgage agent or a mortgage professional and you're coming to me for guidance, I will always take your call. I prioritize that as importantly as I would a client call. We're here to share. I was once upon a time, I was sitting in a corner devising my own strategy, not knowing where to turn. And if
and
I
probably
can,
seeking for those
Yes.
one hand that could, help you, right?
absolutely, it's all about
That's
helping
amazing.
people through the same path.
That's amazing. 10 years down the line, when somebody says mortgage savvy, what do you want it to be associated with, or people to remember you with?
Financial freedom and security. That would be the reward, to provide other families with that sense of safety and security that I had to, challenge through to gain this knowledge is to help others.
Amazing. I think, Rakhee here is doing an amazing job. She's not limiting herself to just providing those mortgage advices or closing those mortgage transactions, but also going a step ahead and providing that mentorship, not just for her clients, but also for the new realtors and professionals entering the industry. I think that is creating a lot of impact, because when you provide mentorship, you're not just training that one individual. Probably every life that individual will in turn touch. So I think that's amazing. So having said that, now in this industry, you have seen this industry from different lens, right? What has been the most challenging side or role that you had to take upon, that you have felt is like very challenging?
It's acknowledging that in these difficult financial times, not everybody's going to act on the advice you're providing.
Okay.
And that is something that sometimes is difficult to navigate. You can create solutions, you can help set that path. You can't walk it for them always. And so it is important to ensure people feel safe and secure with you, but that they realize that they're holding the keys in their own hands, that we can provide that guidance, but they're the ones taking those steps to execute.
Yeah, so you can only do so much. You can probably design a plan or, tell them these are the steps, but they have to walk the path. So that can be challenging. So what has helped you to probably navigate with that challenge? Any approach that you take, or?
I come back. I come back and I ask, is there an opportunity for me to, provide that advice now? And oftentimes, if it's, well, we need more time, how much more time?
Okay.
When can I intervene? When can I be here to support?
Okay, that's amazing. So we're almost around the end of the show. So now probably a very layman question. I don't even know how to put it in the right words, but from a mortgage agent's perspective, and if you have to tell a client who's asking, what is the difference between they going to a bank or a lender directly, or working with an agent? If you have to explain in very black and white to somebody, what is the difference?
So as I had mentioned, every mortgage broker, mortgage professional is going to operate very differently in their businesses. I can speak to Mortgage Savvy and say that we will shop your rate. And rate is important, but there's so much more than just rate. We will, however, take on the responsibility of making sure that we're creating a contract that aligns with you. Okay. A bank is mandated to focus on the interest revenue and compete for client retention. We're here to be there for your entire real estate life cycle. And I think that is the key distinction. We can do one credit pull, we can shop your mortgage, and when you sign, we can continue to shop your mortgage. We're poised to work for you as the end user client.
Okay. And do these services come with any cost for your client?
So if we're working with one of the big banks, which is what Mortgage Savvy does, we work with the institutional lenders. There are no costs for our services.
That's amazing. That sounds like music to the ears. So thank you so much, Rakhee. Thank you for being with us today. And like I said, this is not something that we could completely address in 30 minutes, but I think we did amazing. We touched upon a lot of things, and I think the most important thing that will happen after this show is people will start having those conversations. I think that's very important.
I think we've opened the channel for dialogue. Yes. And this is where it starts. Money creates that sense of fear. Mortgages that create fear. Homes create excitement. Absolutely. This can be exciting too.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. So thank you so much for being with us. You were watching another episode of Unfold, and we had today Rakhee Dhingra, CEO and broker of record at Mortgage Savvy. And Rakhee does not close deals. She opens the doors for a lot of opportunities, and she's been leading the financial industry with a lot of integrity and building that trust and putting people first. We will continue to bring experts on this show and help you start those conversations and ask questions and probably find answers. Thank you so much. It's your show where every guest has a story and every viewer finds theirs. Thank you so much.